So, John, first of all, the white paper, you weren't overly impressed.
Good evening, Ian. I wouldn't necessarily say I wasn't overly impressed. I think it's a white paper with a tinge of green, really. It seems to have a lot of consultation written within the paper, which I think that consultation is due back in May. So it's a little bit light on detail, I would say. Having said that, there's some good things in there. I think we're very supportive of perhaps increasing resources in planning departments, albeit we've got to pay more for planning fees to do so. I think it's good that they've said that they're trying to reduce the number of conditions that are attached to planning permissions, and I think they're really trying to put pressure on local authorities to put local plans in place and to test them to make sure they're delivering on those local plans. So I think all of that's good for us, but we'll just have to wait and see how that evolves into legislation, really.
Did you like the fact that they kept talking about the housing market being broken?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't like the title at all. I thought it was a little bit headline grabbing. I think if you look at what the industry's done over recent years, it's increased output by 50% in the last 3 years or so. So I hardly think that's a broken housing market.
Right. In terms of some of the specific provisions that you just talked about, I mean, I guess one of the most eye-catching ones was this fact that if you own land and planning permission's been granted, you're now going to have to build on it in 2 years rather than the current 3. I mean, is that something you can live with?
Yeah, it is, basically. I mean, when we get an implementable planning permission, we're on site as soon as we can get on site. So for us, it's a matter of months. I suppose my concern is at what point is that going to apply? Because if it's an outline, then you've still got to get a reserve matters approval, you've still got to get conditions cleared. So a lot of that could lay in the hands of the local authority as to how quick they are. If it applies at the reserve matter stage, I don't think we'll have too much to worry about. I
mean, they are, as you say, holding local authorities' feet to the fire to an extent as well. I mean, you take comfort from that, presumably.
Well, look at their track record. I mean, one of the things I think the paper mentions it. They were asked to get the local plans in place by last year, given an extension to this year, and still 60% of local authorities have not got a 5-year plan in place. So, they deserve to really be pushed hard on trying to set their plans so that we can get housing underway.
One thing that I think will have surprised a lot of people, which came out yesterday, was that 60% of all new homes in the UK are built by just 10 builders, of whom you are one. Does there need to be more variety in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think you will see that one of the reasons that housing output has probably dropped over the years is because of the demise of some of the small and medium-sized house builders. And I think the Home Builders Federation did a good piece of work recently they published, and basically said that if we have the same number of small and medium-sized house builders now that we had in 2007, there would be 25,000 more homes built. So you can see where the issue lies, really.
But, I mean, the fact that there are fewer SME builders, and actually you've announced today you've taken out Radley Homes as well. I mean, you're adding to the concentration in the sector.
Yeah, but I think if you look at our track record on output and growth, and what we intend to do with Radley is actually probably get more out of that business than they would have been able to do themselves because of the constraints on businesses of that scale. So I think in many ways, by Redrow taking over Radley, we're able to expand that business much more quickly than it would have been able to do so on its own. So
what are the other kind of obstacles that stand in the way of smaller builders gaining momentum and becoming bigger and more competitive?
Well, I think what's happened the demise has been going on for 20 years, and it's really about the barriers to entry. And principally, of course, those are planning. It's more complex to get planning, it's more expensive to get planning, there are conditions to satisfy, there's more technical inquiries in terms of ecology and archaeology and the like. So it's made it much harder for the smaller builders. And of course, they used to be the ones that would build in back gardens. But, I could remind this government, who were part of the coalition, that in 2010 they stopped this garden grabbing, which was a good source of land for small builders.
Now, looking at your results today, you've said that you expect turnover to be 1.9 billion a year by 2019. I mean, clearly you're anticipating no slowdown in demand or growth whatsoever in the next couple of years.
No, we're pretty confident about the future. We've got a good pipeline of sites coming through, which will support that growth. We also have a record order book. We've got nearly 900 million in forward sales, which some of that takes us right into 2019. So I think off the back of having a good pipeline of sites, having a strong order book, the economy Yes, it might be a little bit bumpy, I guess, over the next 12 months or so, but we're pretty confident the market will be there and support those growth plans.
And very briefly, John, we've got this vote going through the Commons this evening on whether EU nationals will be able to stay in the UK post-Brexit. Could your business operate in the way it does at the moment without EU nationals and EU Labour?
I think parts of the business would find it difficult, particularly in London, where there's a big reliance upon EU Labour, and something needs to be done about that.
All right, John Tutte from Redrow, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure.
Long day for you, appreciate it.